Again, if you haven't had the chance to do so, make sure you cast your vote for Prince and Princess of Prom. I mean, looking around, it's gonna be a pretty tight race, if I were to guess. I don't know, I'm not a statistician.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. Welcome back to the Torgo Entertainment YouTube channel. Torgo here. Welcome back to another gig log, and welcome back to another prom.
So I figured, got a few days, I just learned how to dance.
Now check this out, 1580 AM, KDAY.
I want to.
Yes, today we get to the second of the two proms I have for this spring, and we head back to Jasper-Troupsburg High School for this one. I've done a handful of events for this school already. They're actually booking me for homecoming for this year, which is in September. Right when I started doing videos for this channel, Jasper-Troupsburg started having me for stuff, and they like me, so they keep having me back, so that's always nice to hear. And I didn't think I was gonna have much to say as the intro for this one. These kids are having their prom tonight, and their graduation tomorrow. That's a weekend. And Jasper-Troupsburg is a smaller school, but I've done events before. You've seen the crowd sizes. They're not tiny. Last time I did prom for them was 2 years ago, and we had over 100 kids show up. But I got the notification this morning that this prom has 23 students that have signed up to go. And that's quite small. So I don't really foresee that large of a dance crowd, obviously, but it's not gonna change any of the efforts on my part because it doesn't really matter how many people are in attendance. If you're hired to do something, you're gonna still put on an A game of a show, or at least try to. So we're gonna make sure that those kids have a good time and we're not gonna skimp on anything. I actually bought another subwoofer specifically for this prom. I realized that when I do gigs by myself, and I have to do this gig by myself because this is a Thursday actually, it's a Thursday prom. Neither Phil nor Andy can help me out on this because it's a Thursday and they have other jobs, and I wouldn't ask somebody to work on a weeknight. I think that's a bit ridiculous. But since I sold the ZXA1s, those 12-inch subs that I used to have, I wanted to have some sort of subwoofer, so I decided to bite the bullets and buy a single cabinet 18-inch subwoofer, and I decided on the Electro Voice ELX200 subwoofer. Mostly for the weight, it's like 65 pounds. I can pick it up by myself and carry it without any real trouble. I know that it's got the kind of hard plastic shell and it doesn't have the wood cabinet tones of some of the other subwoofers, but it sounds perfectly fine. And it's not like I have a bad experience with EV subs at all. Remember, the 12-inch subs sounded great before, so I figure 118 should be better for smaller events, smaller weddings, and proms like this. And that we only have 23 students might end up working to my benefit. Plus, it saves me a lot of space in the car, which is a commodity that I need, especially doing gigs by myself. There ain't no overflow that I can store stuff in with other people's vehicles. And that's pretty much it. They told me the theme of the prom this morning, and that's Starry Night. Hey, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? So I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do for color palette for that. I brought a little bit of uplighting. I'm not sure if I'm gonna actually use it. Again, completely depends on the room, but I hope you're ready for this one. Short intro for once. Let's see what happens. Let's go. And transitioning over to the aerial photograph of the school, you can tell kind of what room we're going to be in. Their auditorium, the same room we've always been in, located right here by this star. However, every other time we've been here, we've done something here, they've put us in the corner of the room. And this time they originally wanted me on the stage, but I felt that that would have been a little too domineering considering how large of a setup I was bringing for prom anyway. I didn't want to be up on a higher level. So I decided to be on ground level in front of the stage, which ended up working out a whole lot better. The load-in was a little different. Normally I could just use the loading area right on the curbside. However, they wanted me to go inside a different door because they needed to use that other loading area for graduation related things, because as I said, their graduation is tomorrow. So I had to go in this center door and kind of maneuver some tighter hallways in order to get everything in, but I ended up doing that with little difficulty. In this opposite corner of the auditorium, they have a podium which has the crowns for the prom courts, the king and queen, the prince and princess, what have you. And I decided to do 8 of the Element ST hex pars around the room. I only brought 8 with me. I really wish I had a 9th because of the way that they had stuff on the wall already. But we ended up making it work. There was a lot of light seeping through from those windows up top. But again, what can you do? Here is the lion's share of the setup. It looks very similar to what we did for prom last week. Obviously, the subwoofer is different. It looks great, doesn't it, honestly, when you really get down to it? But look up here. We have a disco ball, and I thought it was a really nice idea for me to point my moving heads at the disco ball, and I made a whole bunch of presets, and we ended up making that work great. Here we have the brand new subwoofer, the EV ELX 200 18SP subwoofer, a whole lot of letters. It's an 18-inch single cabinet subwoofer. Sounds really good in the room. I'm happy I brought it. We have the Dragon Front Board's coral pattern facade. Here we have my light up I DJed speaker stands. Again, one day I will remember what those are called. And on top of those, we have my QSC K10.2 tops. My loudspeakers. They still sound really good after using them for as many years as I have. The I DJed Focus Spot 3Z moving heads. I've been getting a lot of mileage out of those. They look great. My pre-wired truss, which has an I DJed 5P hex up top and some harnesses. We have the Element hex pars underneath. There is my suit case, which has my dress clothes in it. I highly recommend getting one of those. Coming back here, the power's a little different because the outlets were so far away from where I was on stage, so I had to run quite a bit of tape. We have my foam sticks, which I ended up not using just because of how few kids showed up. My Allendale Defender, just to kind of eat up some of the slack because it's like 25 foot of reach on my power conditioners. And you can see the extension cord going in right there. So, you know, you had to do that plus the tapes just to make it look a little neat. I actually used black tape and white tape. Over here on the table, which is my table, we have my I DJed Airstream bridge. We have my Royal Galaxian laser, which is doing an effect behind me because obviously I'm not going to have the moving heads on the disco ball the whole time. You can kind of see the difference. So, you know, it just changes it up a little bit. That way there is still the Starry Night effect without the disco ball. There's a closer look at the Airstream DMX bridge. That hardline DMX cable is actually going down, and that goes to my facade lights. My earplugs, which I ended up not using, but I like having them as an option. You saw my Audio-Technica MX50 headphones, the Pioneer DDJ SX2 controller. And I realized I use Virtual DJ, not Serato. You can use Serato on that. My Samsung Odyssey notebook running the aforementioned Virtual DJ 2020. My SanDisk hard drive, the solid state with all the music on it. My Logitech mouse. Sorry for the light flickering on the camera. I'm not sure how to manually do that yet. My GoPro, which I didn't get a lot of use out of, but hey, I like having it right there for a close-up shot of dance floors when they happen. To the side, we have my Power Bar 65, which gives me a couple more power options. That has the laser plugged into it. The white is for my iPad. There is my iPad with my Airstream presets on it. There's 24 of them there now. And also we have my microphone, the QLXD microphone from, I'm sorry, no, that's not the QLX, that's the SLX from Shure. Don't want to mess that up. The QLX is totally different. You can see that bottom 7 or so of the presets is for the moving heads, and here we have the I DJed UB12 hex bars lighting up the facade. My Furman power conditioners, I like having 2 of the 6 racks, 1 on each side to give me a couple more options. There's a whole bunch of tape. So I think we did a pretty good job, all things considered. We were running a little behind. I didn't get let in until 5:45 instead of 5 o'clock, so I had to rush a little bit to get things done. But overall, I think it turned out pretty great. See what I mean about not being on the stage? I thought it was better being on the ground level. And one side view, we have the moon, again, very similar to last week. There's the good old setup one more time. We only have time for one more thing, and I think you know what it is. You better by now. It is time to disco and to level up. Let's go.
You want me down on earth, but I am up in space. You're so damn hard to
goes out by request. Special shout outs to the stools that we had out there. Seat fillers, you could call them.
What you know about me? What you know about me? What you know about me? What you know? My lip gloss is so, my lip gloss be popping.
West Virginia, Mountain Mama.
And we're back 2 days after the prom. And I actually have a wedding today. You'll see that in the next gig log, so it's just more for ease of filming than anything else. Let's talk about this prom. Yeah, 23 kids showed up, and I found out why, so listen to this. It's the school's policy, because the prom is actually in the school, that kids needed to be safe regarding COVID protocol, which makes sense given New York State, let alone the rest of the country, let alone the rest of the world. One parent had a huge problem with the fact that they were having a prom in the school because of the mask policy. I guess they were under the impression that they had to wear masks, even though you clearly saw from the footage they did not. So, what this woman did is decided to use her own money and have her own prom, Bender style.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go build my own theme park with blackjack and hookers. In fact, forget the park.
And most of the seniors went to that last week instead of this one, which kind of stinks. Most of the kids you saw at this prom were actually juniors, not seniors. We had 23 kids, but they weren't like a group of 23 friends. You had little pockets of people that knew each other here and there, which kind of explains the very limited dancing. You know, it's hard enough when you're dancing with a small group like that, but if you don't know everybody, yeah, and you have this huge room and so few people, I completely understand why there wasn't that much dancing. I kept feeling bad. I tried to play bangers and what the kids wanted to hear. I was taking some requests and I just couldn't really make anything happen. And I was really concerned that it was me, like, oh my God, I'm bombing and I feel so bad for these kids with everything having happened. But something must have been all right, because something that has never happened for me at a school event happened, and that is they actually asked me to play an extra hour for overtime. I don't think schools offer overtime ever for those kinds of events, but this was a unique circumstance, so I kind of understood what they were going for. They wanted to make sure the kids were enjoying themselves, so we ended up playing from 8 to 11. The setup ended up looking great. I thought it was a very inspired idea on my part to take the moving heads and shine them up at the disco ball. We got some really nice coverage that way. We had the uplighting around the room. Probably the most bizarre part of the whole deal was that a couple of the kids came up to me and said, "Now we have a strange request. Can you play Flamingo by Caro Bonito? We know you have it because you played it last time you were here and we saw it in one of your gig logs." These kids are watching me on YouTube. So, hi, Jasper-Troupsburg. Glad I could be of service. Overall, not the most exciting event, and it kind of bummed me out a little bit, but given the extenuating circumstances, I did what I could. Not every single event can be a 10 out of 10, but as long as they had fun, that's what matters. A playlist will be appended to the end of this video per usual. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Torgo with Torgo Entertainment, and we will see you very soon for weddings upon weddings upon weddings for 2021. Take care.